How can you remember the words at the beginning of the lesson? A student asked. I started reading more. I feel it's good for me. I can see how my grammar is getting better, but I have a problem when reading. I look up a new word in the dictionary and then continue reading. Sometimes, when I see the same word again just 10 minutes later, I don't remember it and have to look it up again. Can you help me remember words better? Our teacher replied, that's an interesting question, and then gave this explanation. It's normal not to remember a new word immediately. Usually, you'll need to look up the word 5 times before you remember it. There are also words you might need to look up 10 or 15 times, and these are often verbs. When we learn a new word, it goes through stages. It's only in the final stage that you remember the word well. There are 5 of these stages. Let's go through them. The first stage is when you encounter a new word for the first time and don't know it. You look it up in the dictionary. The second stage is when you see the word again, which you've looked up or heard before, and you know you've seen it, but you still don't remember its meaning. You look it up again. The third stage is when you see the word and have a feeling of what it might mean, but you're not sure. For example, you know the word is some kind of object, animal, or verb. The fourth stage is when you know what the word means when you see it, but you can't recall the word when you want to say it. When this stage happens, the word is in your passive vocabulary. The fifth stage is when you can use the word when you speak. Now you can see there are 5 stages altogether. Do you understand now why it's not possible to remember a new word when you see it for the first time? You have to go through all the stages. With each encounter, you'll see or hear the word several times, and it will go through all the stages until it reaches stage 5. You can be happy not only when you learn a new word perfectly, but also when you move from one stage to another. When this happens, you are closer to the final goal, which is to use the word smoothly in daily communication. This is interesting to me. I didn't know about these stages, but it makes sense. I've also experienced looking up a new word in the dictionary and then, 2 minutes later, not remembering the word and having to look it up again. I felt stupid for not remembering the word. Now I know it's okay not to remember the word forever the first time I see it. I need several encounters with a word before I can use it well. After school, I go to my soccer practice. Our coach tells us there will be a game on Saturday. The school team will play against another school team from Cambridge. Our coach tells me to come play for the school team. I'm very happy and looking forward to the game on Saturday. When you want to remember a new word, you need to see or hear the word about 10 times. How to improve listening. The next day, I return to school. One of the students has an important question and wants to know how to improve their listening skills. He wants to know the best approaches. Our teacher says, "Thank you for your question. Good listening skills are very important for communication. If you don't understand what people are saying, it will be difficult to talk with them. There is a lot of material on the internet for English learners. Some students may have trouble finding the right listening materials for them. Let's look at what you should listen to. There are 2 types of materials you can listen to, audio or movies. These are quite different materials and different rules apply to them. When you listen to audio, you should know 95% of the words or more. If the audio has many new words, read the text first, if possible, and make sure you know all the words. When practicing listening, practice getting information from spoken language. Don't try to learn new words. Of course, sometimes you can learn new words, but that is not the main goal when listening. Focus on getting information from spoken English. It's important to use materials at your English level. For example, you can use simplified English books that come with an audio recording. I really recommend these books. They're fantastic because you can choose a book at your English level. When you have such a book, read it first, then listen to the recording at home or while traveling. The second type of material for practicing listening is movies and videos on YouTube. These are also great. You can start using them when you know 2,000 English words or more. Here's what you should do with a movie. Watch it for the first time with subtitles so you know what the movie is about, then watch the movie without subtitles. If you like the movie a lot, you can watch it more than once. With each viewing, you'll understand more. It's also good to watch videos on the internet about topics you're interested in. For example, if you like nature, you can watch documentaries about nature. You can also watch reality shows. Reality shows are much easier to understand than movies or documentaries because the show structure is usually the same. You need to have at least 30 minutes of listening practice daily. The more you listen, the faster you'll understand more words when listening. Always focus on what you already understand, even if it's only 10% at the beginning. It's easy to get discouraged by all the parts you still don't understand. Focus on what you already know and be happy for each new sentence you understand. Listening is the easiest way to learn. You don't have to do anything. Just listen. Did this information help you? Yes. The student says, thank you. The topic of listening is very interesting to me. Now I know what to do to improve my listening. When I want to be good at listening, I'll listen for 30 minutes every day. On Friday, we have an interesting conversation in our class. Our teacher has a question for us and asks, what was your first reason for learning English? Do you remember when you started learning English? When did you really become interested in the language? I say, I remember when I became interested in English. My teacher says, can you tell us what happened? I say, yes. First, I have to say that English wasn't always my favorite subject. I started learning English in high school. At first, it was very difficult for me. I didn't understand the structure of the language. It was illogical to me. I tried to memorize words and learn grammar, but it was very hard. When I finished high school, I was still a beginner. I couldn't speak English and believed I would never learn the language correctly. I just thought English wasn't for me. Then something happened. I always liked music, and when I was 20, I started listening to the Beatles. I wanted to understand what they were singing, so I began translating their songs. Slowly, I understood more and more. Then I met two women from England on a train. We had a simple conversation, but it helped me a lot. I started to believe that I could learn English. Since then, I have been working on my English almost every day and improving more and more. Then I decided to go to England and improve my English there. My teacher thanks me for sharing my story and adds, there's something very interesting about your story. At first, you didn't have the motivation to learn English. Then you got motivated, you wanted to understand the songs. You can see that motivation is very important. When you have it, you can succeed. When you don't, it's very hard to succeed. Then our teacher asks everyone in the class about their motivation to learn English. The stories are very interesting. One girl's motivation is to be able to read historical books in the original English. One student wants to be a professional tennis coach and wants to speak perfect English before starting his career as a coach. One woman wants to work for a big international company and needs English for her job. I can see that everyone has some kind of motivation to use English in real life or to get information from books. At the end of the lesson, our teacher asks us if we like English. I say, I didn't like English in high school, but now I like it a lot. I can see how useful it is to know this language. Our teacher says, that's another important factor when learning a new language. It's good when you like something connected to English. Could be the people, music, culture, or history. If you like English, it's easier for you to learn it. If you don't like English, try to connect the language with something you like. This can help a lot. How to succeed. On Monday, I'm preparing for my presentation. I'm reading a book about successful people. In the book, I find a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger that says, I don't just want to be successful in my sport. I want to be successful in everything I do. I have to focus 100% on what I'm doing right now. I have to see the goal I want to reach. Only then can I succeed. I'm not interested in sports or money. I'm interested in achieving my goals. I also find another interesting quote. People may see me as a successful person, but they don't see how many hours of work I've put in to reach my goals. I got up every morning at 5 o'clock and practiced for 4 hours. After lunch, I practiced for 3 more hours. I had to sacrifice a lot, but now I can say it was worth it. If you want to achieve your goals, you have to be prepared to sacrifice many things. These quotes motivate me a lot. I have a great motivation to learn English well. My goal is to study at Oxford University, and I know I need to speak perfect English to study there. I give my presentation on Tuesday. After my presentation, our teacher asks if she can give me some feedback. I'm happy to hear what she thinks about my presentation, so I say, yes, please. Our teacher says, "You were a little nervous at the beginning, but then it was fine. You know the topic very well. Your explanation was logical, and I could understand all the important points. You had good pronunciation. I really liked your presentation. Next time you give a presentation, try to focus on these two things first. Don't worry too much. When you give a presentation, people don't notice small mistakes, only big ones. Second, remember to breathe regularly. When you don't breathe enough, you can feel more nervous. So just don't worry and breathe regularly. I'm very happy with the feedback. It helps me improve. Every piece of information like this helps me get closer to my goal.